This is a tool called a dolly on a stick. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there we go. That is way more better. Alright, in this video we're going to repair some minor or basic dents in the back of my cab here. If you watch my video on the 40-year-old dent repair, link in the description, this is it. All the fillers ground out. Here's the holes I drilled originally 40-something years ago. Use a snatch bar and pull the holes out. The reason I did that back then was because the gas tank was still in the truck. This was my dad's truck. He had no desire to pull the gas tank out of this thing back then, and frankly I didn't either. But so now that I have access, I'm going to go ahead and hammer and dolly from the inside. Then I'll weld the holes up, hammer and dolly it, and we'll move on. So this one here I'm going to work from the inside. This one here I cannot get to from the inside. The inner panel in the cab is in the way. So I will be using a snatch bar to pull this dent out, and I'll weld the holes back up. So that's the 3-4 dents, whatever. So let's get busy. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to start out doing some basic hammer and dolly work here. I pulled the dent out pretty well 40 years ago, so there's not a lot of, it's not really low here. There is a little low spot right here, and there's also another small dent right here. And just do some basic hammer work real quick, dolly work. Okay. And in the little low spot right here, right up in here, I might be able to bump it out with the dolly. And yes, I'm going to miss the exact area I want to hit. I'm just bumping around it, and I'll fix whatever little extra bumps I might have put in there. If I got enough experience, I can kind of do that and get away with it. That feels really good. It's a little low, like a 1/16-ish, which is fine for body filler. I'm not metal finishing this. I already said that. Let me work this dent right here. Let me see if I can bump it again by hand like this. A little more right now over here. In case you're wondering, I can see the metal as I hit it. I can see it kind of bump, so I know where I'm hitting. But you know, you new guys or beginners or with less experience, you probably want to get in here and hit it from the inside if you can. Right, that's not bad. I'm doing some hammer on dolly, some hammer off. Hammer on, when you hear that, you're stretching the metal. Hammer off, you push one side of the dent up and hit off dolly, they call it, and that works the metal around. It's one of those techniques you have to learn. Okay, that's a lot better. It feels pretty good actually. Maybe a little bit more. Don't forget to go up and down. You know, this way is fine, but you gotta feel it. You gotta feel all around. Now, this way I can feel a bit of a high spot right here. Okay, that feels really good. That took me what, 5 minutes, if that, to get that where it's ready for filling. Again, not metal finishing, so don't freak out over that. Alright, I like that. I will weld the holes up, but that comes later. Alright, now let's work on this one. Alright, this one here we're going to be working from the inside. And this is a tool called a dolly on a stick. What its actual name is, I don't know. We just always call it a dolly on the stick. This tool again is 40-something years old. Bought it from a Snap-on or a Mac Man, way back yonder. So I'm going to put it on the inside. I'll either use, I've used both ends before. I'll either use this end or this end, not sure which. And do the basic roughing out, in other words, driving it out. And I'm going to drive it out too far, probably, more than likely. And then we'll hammer and dolly it and start finessing it when I get close. I would put you inside the cab for this, but you're not going to be able to see it, so just, sorry, just it is what it is. I'm also hitting it with a big hammer. This is a bit overkill, but I don't really like hitting this hammer with my body hammers. It's not something I like to do. So I'm just taking the easy hits, not caveman in this thing. Now, I can see the dent from the inside about as good as I can from the outside. If you're wondering how I know where to hit, I can see the dent on the inside. Now, those 3 hits, hell, that about took it all out. Got a little low spot still right there. Now, I stretched that. I knew I would, and that. Okay, let's hammer and dolly on that and see what we get. That is damn close. This time I am using this curve facing my dolly because it fits in that curve. Now I will swap for the flatter face out here. I will swap to a flat dolly. That's mostly hammer-on dolly to kind of get work the little pock marks, I call them, out. I'm not trying to stretch. I'm not hitting that hard. That feels really good. That might be good enough. I'm only again filler, not metal finishing. That is really close. High spot from something right there. Now that's just something I kind of do. I kind of wash over real lightly. I just kind of always done it. It's probably not getting me anything. It's just something I kind of always done. All right, that dent, I'm calling that dent fixed until I get it ground off. It's definitely ready to get it ground down and get ready for filling. And if we have to adjust it anymore, we can. That might have been a rub spot from a dent that maybe came in from the bed panel. Maybe, I'm not sure. There's a little dent right here too though. So I'm going to just dolly around that real easily like. All I'm doing is just kind of working the little ripple down that that dent created. So it's not high. I'm going to put filler on that one as well. Okay. That feels good. Alright, those two are ready to grind down. So the snatch bar dent, I'm going to go ahead and grind the paint out of there now. It's easier when it's kind of a uniform shape, even though it's a dent. But once I start working it out, it gets all, you know, misshapen. It's hard to get the paint out of there. So I'm just going to do it now. Alright, here we go. Good old snatch bar. This snatch bar is over 40 years old. I've had this thing since my body shop career back in the 80s. Fixed a lot of cars with this, including this truck right here. If you watch my video about the 40-year-old dent, this is the snatch bar I fixed that dent with. So the reason I'm doing this with a snatch bar is I had no access to get to it from the inside and drive it out like I did the one down here. So the way I usually do it is start my way from the deepest spots and work my way out. And sometimes you gotta You start with the deep spots and have to keep drilling circles and working out. You just never know. So all you do with this thing, there's the screw tip you have that locks down. You drill a hole, you screw this in, and you pull on it. You'll see, and it works. Nowadays, people have the stud guns. So I don't have a stud gun. I don't want to buy a stud gun. The ones we used back in the 80s weren't that great. I'm sure the ones they have nowadays are probably better, but I don't want to buy one. Old school for me is going to work just fine. I'm guessing here as to where I'm going to need to pull. That'll be a good start. This snatch bar, unlike some of the cheaper ones you buy like off Amazon, this handle here's actually got a handle and it's padded. So some of them just have a metal whatever back here. This one, really the only place you're kind of beating your hand up is back on the back of your hand where you're sitting against the hammer. And this is a light pull too. I don't really need to wear a glove. It's just something I do. So I'm gonna start. And the trick here usually is try not to get the whole thing at once. Sometimes you get lucky on sheet metal. It'll pull right out. Sometimes it's really difficult. This is in a pretty good corner. This is in a pretty sturdy corner. This is a lot of shape here. It's got a lot of strength, so it may or may not work on us. And these screws, if you pull too hard, or if the panel is really strong, you will snatch the screws out. That's very common. So that's another reason you don't want to just overdo it and go caveman on these things if you don't have to. See that pulling out? Now I'm not pulling very hard either. I don't need to. Now I'm just going to work. This dent is a crease right here. That's why I drill these 4 holes in the line. That's definitely pulling right out. Now one thing this snatch bar does that irritates me, it's not the snatch bar's fault. This is not the right screw up in here. They make a special screw with a special head. You go up in here, and I haven't had any of those in years. So I just put a regular screw up in here, and it doesn't really tighten down right. It's not the snatch bar's fault. And I am over pulling a little bit. We'll dolly it back down. Okay. All right, there's my initial pull. The crease is definitely out. We're still sunk in some kind of right in there. I'm gonna put a couple more right over here. There's another crease over here. You got to be careful drilling close to other holes you just drilled, because that makes the metal weak too, and it'll pull out even more. And you'll kind of feel the metal when it moves, and then it kind of gets to a spot where it's got resistance in it. That's where it's kind of gone back into shape. And if you keep pulling, you're really starting to stretch, which is where I was just at. And that's something you'll learn by doing this. Not one of those kind of by feel and by experience things. You gotta have to do it to kind of experience it. There's a low spot right here that I also might be able to get to from the inside. There's another tool that I made for doing this. It's a piece of pipe, 1/2-inch water pipe, I believe. Yeah, it's not 3/4. You can see how much I've hit it on it through the years by how much the back end is splayed out, mushroomed out. It's cut on a bit of an angle. Hope you can see that. Cut on a bit of an angle, not much, 80, 70, 80 degrees. So it's got a bit of a point here, and I put the tip of the point here against the dent and drive against that. So this works really good too. I showed you my dolly on the stick yesterday. It's the same idea, but this wide head, really wide head, or even this this wide head here, you know, can't get into smaller areas like this can. And this will work kind of a concentrated little area with this little point, whereas the big area on this thing, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I also mentioned yesterday I don't like hitting these kind of tools with my body hammer, so in this case, little ball peen worked just fine instead of that big hammer. Now I'm going to miss and overdrive it, but that's what we got a hammer and dolly for. Okay. That's kind of working that out. That's better. Yeah, I might be overstretching it, so I better watch it. Now, the spot right over there, if I can get to it. Oh, there, I see it right there. Okay. Those are pretty good. I like that. And as I said, I overdrove it a little bit, and I knew I would, but we'll fix it. Hammer and dolly. I'll put one more pull right up here. Don't overstretch when you do this, because it's like in this corner right here, it's going to be kind of hard to stretch it to the point where it can't be unstretched, or not unstretched, but hammered and dollied back out. But still, you can overdo it. Don't overstretch. All right, it's where I like it now, so I'm going to try to get inside with a hammer and dolly here. So I'm probably going to wind up using my flat dolly on pretty much all of this. I'm going to start here where I stretched first. I'm not exactly where I want to be here. I'm driving it down way more than I want to. I can't get the dolly in there where it needs to be. So I've got this dolly. I was calling the other dolly yesterday a heel dolly. I believe this is a heel dolly. And I got a thin version of a flat dolly. So we'll try the flat dolly. The thin dolly rather. If I can get it up in here. That's feeling pretty good. The places that I drove out, got them worked down. A couple little spots still. Again, I can't get the dolly on it if I want to. Heard that a little bit dolly up, but that's a crazy spot to get into. Got all this shape, and it's in a narrow area. All right, I hammered that down a little deeper than I'd like to because I couldn't get the dolly in there right. So I'm going to pull back a little bit more. Hang on, let me show you another tool. We used to call these booger hooks. They got an actual name, and I think I've talked about them on my channel before. What they're actually called, I don't know. Some kind of hook. I think they're actually even on Amazon. If I can find one, a set, I'll try to link to them. Well, we used to call these booger hooks. So what you do with these is get them in your hole, and like I've already pulled here, and I only need to pull it out a little bit more with a slight or with slide, or maybe call it easy pulls, you can pull by hand. Now in this tough corner, it's going to be a little bit hard to do. If I was in the middle of a door panel or something, you know, you can pull it pretty good in a big flat panel. But like here, since I'm a little bit low when I drove it back down, I'm going to try just to pull this out with the hook and not have to hammer it or slide hammer it again. And I may or may not be able to do it. But another place that these things are really valuable, a lot of times working a dent, not this one, but a lot of dents, you have to have an area pulled towards you, you know, and hammer down. So if I had maybe a flat panel, I needed to pull it towards me and hammer an area right beside of it. You put the hook in, you know, over here. I'm not going to do it here. You pull out on the panel to stop it from flexing. Do your hammer work around it like that. You can also put in more than one. You know, say I'm working this big crease here, and I want to pull a lot of the area at once. I can put one up there. I can put one right here. And pull both at the same time. Now this dent here is not a good example for any of that. I'm just showing you things you can do with these. So I'm just going to make a couple little pulls and see if I can pull this out enough to make me happy. And I believe it is moving. And I'm not trying to move it much. We're talking, you know, less than a 1/16 really. Again, I'm nitpicking because that's what I do. Alright, let's try to dolly that again. See if I can do a better job of getting on there this time. Alright, there we go. I can't really get to that like I want to with the dolly. It's just in a bad spot. It's shaped funny and it's in an area hard to get to. But that's actually pretty good. These two up here may still be a little proud. Let me hit them a little bit more. So something else I talked about before with dent repair, you put a dent in the panel, obviously you have the low spot, you know, where it sinks in. But around the outer perimeter of that dent, wherever the dent stops, that metal will usually ripple. And most of the times it'll kind of push up. So that the outer perimeter will pooch up and you'll have a low spot in the middle and high spots around the edge. So most of the time you want to hammer around the outside perimeter of that dent and that'll work that ripple down. So that's what I'm doing here, kind of on both sides. Just again, it may not have to do it on this dent, but it's certainly not going to hurt. And it's something I know to do. I've done it for years, and I know how dents react. So I'm just going to take a little bit of light taps around the outer edge here. I'm pushing from the inside with my hand, which is probably not doing a whole lot, but it's making me feel good by doing it. I would be using a dolly, but as I said, I can't get my dolly in there like I want to, so I'll just use my damn thumb. I'm just pushing, I'm just keeping pressure on that panel, even with my thumb. You'd be surprised how much that actually does work. The panel feels pretty much where it needs to be. I'll weld these holes up, grind it down, and I won't metal finish it, because I said I'm not metal finishing, but I'll get it as close to I can. But I'll get it as close as I can. Before I do that, here's a close-up of what we have at the moment. I'm not sure how much you can tell by this, but it's definitely, you know, the dent's definitely pulled out. So we'll weld the holes up now, and then we'll re-dolly it and grind it and go from there. Now I could TIG these holes up. TIG welds are much easier to planish. They're a lot softer than a MIG weld. MIG welds are hard and brittle, but I'm not going to worry about that. Not here. MIGging's going to be just fine. And don't gob a bunch of weld up on these either. Just weld the hole and get out. You start piling up a big gob of weld, you got to grind all that off, and it's just more work. And you know, don't do that if you can avoid it. If you got, you know, the better you get at it, the better you'll get at it. What? Just a few quick little stitch bursts and get it done. And just like any panel, don't put too much heat in your panel. Let it kind of cool down. I don't do the whole air hose trick thing. People that do, I don't believe in doing that. It makes your welds brittle, I think. Let it cool naturally. That's how I've always done it. That's how I'm going to keep doing it. I would describe the way I weld a hole up, but when I start getting into details here, people start getting bored and tuning out. So if you want me to show you how I weld up a hole sometime, you know, drop me a comment or something and let me know that you'd actually watch it. There's a certain way I do it. You know, you start with the edge of the hole and kind of work your way around, and it makes it a lot easier. And the way I hold the torch and the angle, if you guys will watch it, let me know and I'll make a video on it. Alright, there we go, holes are welded up. Now, while I got the welder out, I'm going to weld these holes up down here too. Now, these holes are a little bit bigger than they should be. When I made that video that I hope you guys watched, I ripped back in here and reworked these holes and it kind of made them expand some. So they're bigger than they should be, and that's just my fault. The welding them up is the same exact process. So obviously that was a lot harder because the hole was twice the size, if not more. So don't use that as a common scale. This is an abnormality, yeah. Now with this one I had to pile up some extra bead to get it to weld up, so I'm gonna come back and kind of grind it and dolly it. And I'll probably do all these that way, so. Let me let that cool off a little bit, and then we'll do some final hammer and dolly work on it. Alright, now that I got the holes all welded up and ground down, I can feel that the area here is still a little bit lower than I'd like. It's not an 1/8 of an inch low, but it's a strong 1/16 for sure. I could leave it. That's the way it was for 40 years. And I'm going to try to bump it out just a little bit, because I can't help myself. And instead of taking my dolly and kind of bumping blind from the back, I'm going to take my dolly on the stick. I know right where I need to hit, and I'll put it in there and in the precise places I want to hit it and use that. Alright, that helps. Let me put a little bit more kind of right along back in this area back here. I did over bump it a little bit, but I'll dolly it back down. Yeah, that feels much better. I like that a lot better. Let's run a grinder over it real easy like. I'm not removing any material really, I'm just kind of doing that wash pass I talked about before. It's just something I like to do. I think that'll wipe the filler just fine. Might be a little high, right in there. Alright, I'm good with that. There's a spot right here I don't like. It's actually surrounded, it's a high spot surrounded by two low spots. I think that got on it, I think. Yeah, that feels better. I've talked about it before, doing body filler work. Your goal is to leave the area you got to repair just a smidgen low. If it's only 10 thousandths or 20 thousandths, not no eighth of an inch, even less than a 16th if you can do it. But you want to leave your area just low enough to wipe some filler in there. Because if you don't, if you try to get it too perfect, for lack of a better term, you wind up with high spots, and then your filler winds up being all bumpy and lumpy with high spots, and that's not what you want. That's not a good way to work filler. It's not efficient, and you don't get good results that way. So leave it just a little bit low, as low as you can, 30 thousandths, 10 thousandths, whatever you're at, you can do. Wipe it with filler, and move on. In my humble, old school body man opinion, anyway. Metal finishing is a different discipline altogether. I know that, I understand that, I'm not metal finishing. I keep saying that, I know I do because people are going to jump on me. Like, of course they don't right now because my channel's not big enough. Anyway, that's ready to go. Run the DA over it right quick just to smooth it up a little bit. There we go, ready for filler. Now I'm going to DA the other areas we fixed down and get them smooth. Now I did miss this dent here. I completely forgot about that dent right there. Remember I told you I had this dent here and one right beside of it? Completely missed it. Alright, so these dents are done. I still have this one left back here that I forgot about, one beside the one we just fixed. I'm going to go ahead and fix it. I will let the camera run. I do want to show the process of doing it. So it's another snatch bar dent because I can't get to the back side to drive it out. So snatch bar, pull it out, weld the holes up, dolly it down, all that stuff. But these dents here are done and ready for epoxy primer. But let me get this one here fixed and then we'll end the video. This dent is light enough I might be able to fix it with the booger hooks and not use my snatch bar. So let's give it a try. Oh yeah. I hope you can see that move on camera. Oh yeah, that's yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, there we go. That is way more better. I might just put one more pull right there. Because that dent was about from here over to here. It went all the way into my other dent, really. Let's do it right quick. Oh yeah. I hope you saw that move. I think you probably did. I hope. So there we go. Now they're overstretched a little bit, and the edge of the hole are kind of pooched out. You know how a screw hole will, you know, make like a volcano lip thing? We got to dolly that down. What I don't want to do is drive it down too far. Let me give it just another bit of a pull. Not nearly as hard as the first one. Just to kind of tug out a little bit. I'm trying not to make the little volcano lip like I just talked about this time. I just want to make a real light little pull to pull it out. Okay. Now I'm going to weld the holes up, we'll grind it, and we'll be that close to being finished. Alright. That's a flat area you're welding right there, so be careful. That will warp. It's not like the middle of a hood, but it's still a flat area that will shrink. Alright, that feels really good. It's just a tiny amount low, like I talked about, 1/16 or less. Didn't warp, didn't shrink, didn't oil can anything on me. Well, there we go, all ready for primer. So that's the end of the video. We did the metal work and repaired several dents here. We fixed my 40-year-old dent down here, welded the holes up, got it planished out in a much better shape than it was when I fixed it 40 years ago. We fixed a pretty deep little dent right here. Fixed another minor dent right here, but still needed to be pulled out and fixed. Fixed a minor dent right here, had another little spot here, and had a high spot down there. And of course, I hope you watched my 2 recent videos about my plug for my gas filler neck hole that I made and tigged in and hand planished. Came out really well. So this corner here now is ready for epoxy primer. I don't know when I'm going to be doing that, and I don't know when I'm going to be wiping filler. So my next videos on this truck, I'm not sure yet. I was not going to do a 2-part video. I wanted to do fixing the metal work and the body filler work in the same video. Those videos get too long. YouTube keeps telling me my videos are too long and people get bored and tune out. So I'm going to try to do another 2-part thing basically. Metal work in this video, then the next video we're going to do body work. You know, wipe the filler, sand it, block it, all that stuff. Hope you guys will watch them that way. I need to know in the comments if you let me know if you like my shorter videos or the longer videos. Most of my videos are actually long. They're too long, according to what YouTube tells me. But I can't decide what you guys like. So if you would, let me know. Shorter, longer, whatever. You know, I'm making these for you guys, obviously. So, you know, let me know if you would what you'd like to see. The channel's been growing slowly lately, so I appreciate everybody that's commented, subscribed, liked, all you guys. I appreciate every bit of it. And with that, be sure and do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share it around with your buddies, your enemies, ex-wives, girlfriends, whatever. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Y'all come back now, you hear it. Go make something. Bye. Alright. Done.